My name is Weam Namou, and I'm a writer, filmmaker, and I do healing work, particularly shamanic healing work. And I'm grateful for this opportunity today to share some of the types of works that I do, some of which is therapeutic journaling. And otherwise, I also call it shamanic journaling. It has a little bit different angles when it's in the shamanic sense, but today I'm just going to do the general kind share so that everybody can understand it and benefit from it. This type of journaling is something that I have been teaching through workshops and at the Path of Consciousness Spiritual and Writing Retreat, which we've been having yearly for quite a few years now, but unfortunately this year we can't. However, we will be providing it online. And the reason I address journaling is because I myself, I've been journaling for decades now, and it has brought a lot of healing for myself. And aside from the fact that it has helped me as a writer, I've published 13 books, but it wasn't about just the stories that I was writing, but it was what it was transforming me into in the process. To me, anything that we do in this life, there has to be some, it doesn't have to be, but when there's this type of purpose behind it, you get so much more benefits. So we can use anything to benefit us, or actually it can make how we feel worse or our lifestyle worse. That even includes in the journaling process. If we just constantly journal about a certain story that we're stuck on and complain about certain circumstances, we will find that we will have those same experiences repeated in our life. And that really becomes frustrating. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. That's the same case in journaling. The trick is to kind of understand the communication that's happening between you and the paper. Or I know nowadays a lot of people just use the computer which is fine. You know, I think even text maybe. I'm still a little bit old school, and I do like to journal with pen. There will be a sheet that will be sent to everybody that they can download and use just as an idea of how you can go about your journaling. But of course, everybody will have their own way and style. The most important thing is, for me, is setting up a space to do the journaling. So we go to the, well, we don't do it as much right now. We don't go to a yoga studio to do yoga as much as we used to do that. But we have a space where we do our yoga. We have our space where we cook in the kitchen normally. We have a space where we eat. And journaling is kind of the same way. If you can have that space, whether it's in the front, sitting in the front porch, even if it's sitting in your bed, where the journal, it's like when you sit in that area, in that space, it triggers an automatic way for you. It's like, this is the time, whether you spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day. More important than the quantity, the number of minutes that you're going to be spending journaling, is really the consistency. Because if you spend an hour one day and then for a whole month you go without journaling, that doesn't have, it's good that you journaled, but there's a different kind of a therapeutic benefit when you're doing it on a regular basis. And you could say that it's kind of like, I walk every day. So I could walk one day for 3 hours and not walk for the rest of the week, or I can walk daily for 20 minutes to an hour a day. When I walk, and the relationship that I have with nature walking, the relationship I have with my body when I do yoga, journaling has a relationship that you have not just mentally and emotionally, but the story that you're carrying, that you've been carrying in your life. If you are whether you're 15 years old, 20 years old, 40, 50. In the process of journaling and looking at certain patterns in your life, this is an opportunity to shed light on what you keep doing, what keeps repeating itself, and why, and how you can get out of that story. The way I treat something that is bothering me, that seems to be a pattern from, even if I've sometimes with my career, I've wondered like why I get stuck in certain areas, and I keep trying to track like what is the pattern, and I seem to be doing all the right things. And then in the process, I come to this pattern that my parents had, my father or my mother, and that it was, I somehow absorbed that, and I'm somehow repeating it. So when I see that on paper, it's the spirit, it's great spirit, it's the creator, it's God, it's that relationship where it's like, oh, this is what I'm looking at. And then it brings this awareness. And then using that same paper that helped me pinpoint in the process of expressing and shedding my feelings and frustrations and what I'm looking at. And that process and that communication between me and spirit and my higher consciousness, I have this opportunity to decide what I want to do with this. And I get to that point. I can get to that point either by chance as I'm journaling, or I can get there by intention. Therapeutic journaling, intentive journaling, shamanic journaling comes from that intent that you go in with the expectation of understanding something about yourself, about somebody that you might have a problem with, about a problem that's been following you, stalking you for many years. And it's time to say, you know, I need to confront this so that it doesn't continue to be a pattern in my life. And so I don't pass it on to my children and grandchildren. And that the consciousness level of this type of journaling is just a little bit different. The work is still as easy and fun as if you're just kind of putting feelings on paper, although regardless of how you do it, you will still receive the benefits. Again, as in yoga, as in walking, as anything else, cooking healthy food, you're gonna get that benefit regardless, with the way that the mind is stimulated, the emotions, the mood that healthy lifestyles creates. You get all these benefits, but when you put the intent on using journaling as a therapeutic way, and to heal some issues, then you're kind of adding the element of wisdom behind it. That's really important. We really like need this in the world right now. So many people are trying to change things on the outside, and then they wonder why things don't change. And they even say, like, we've been trying to change this for hundreds of years, and we've been trying this. And well, it comes through a more silent inner work that is not as visible, but it's more powerful. And it lasts longer. It's more sustaining. I often compare the process of losing weight. When we are trying to change the shape of our body for whatever reason, and we want to lose weight, we have a measurement to go by. What kind of foods, a type of exercise, and it's just very regimented, and it seems so basic, like it's not rocket science. You know, this is what you have to do to get from this weight to that weight and to live a healthier lifestyle. But it's measured because you get on the scale, and then you can see your clothes getting bigger on you, and people start noticing and they tell you things. With other factors that when you are working with the intellect, when you are working with your emotions, and when you are journaling to do this, which is a very private and sacred type of practice, and it's so powerful. But because it's between you and God and the paper, and people are not seeing it, you're not gonna really get that pat on the back. You're not gonna get feedback on what's changing. So that communication that you continue between you and your paper and your higher self, that makes you so strong, and it heals so many elements, that you do arrive to a point where it's not about seeking anybody's approval, but really making the best life for yourself and your loved ones as possible. It becomes more personal, and you feel so empowered because nobody can take that relationship away from you. So I do one-on-one work with people, and based on what they tell me, they benefit. So I'm very happy about that. But I always interject that, well, one day this might be the last time that you're going to talk to me. This might be the last time in a workshop. I'll say, I might never see you again, but I hope that you will take this practice and use it at home, because this is what will empower you. Not meeting with me. Meeting with me would be just a matter of, well, me telling you how to use the tools. But without the practice and without the consistency, nobody can do anything for you. That's why sometimes these kind of practices are difficult to do. Nobody can get you to do yoga. Nobody can get you to walk outside, and nobody can hold your hand and take you outside or make you eat certain types of foods. But journaling, the difference when I go walking and I get to good connection with nature physically, I feel physically and mentally, spiritually, of course, intellectually, all these elements, what I'm seeing and what is healthy for me. But journaling gives you the opportunity to measure your story and to switch it. Once you put that pen on that paper, and the way that you're even circling, and I know people use, a lot of people don't use the pen, but there is a sacred connection to using the pen and having that movement and all the nerves touching from your fingertips, and that relationship of communication from your fingertips all the way up to your brain and to your emotions. You're having a dialogue. Oftentimes what destroys us is the conversations that we have in our head. We really are our worst enemies if our intentions are good. Most people that you come in contact with are good people, and but we don't see the dialogue inside of them, and nobody sees that conversation. It's only you that sees it. And what better than to have that sacred space with that sacred experience? To me, it's like, it feels like, being in church or being in whatever holy space that you participate in, what temple you go to or mosque, and that feeling of communicating with God. But when you put it down on paper, I think you take it further. You are making an agreement with God about the things that you have witnessed, and you are taking responsibility for it. So you're not just ranting. You're not just like, oh, my life is like this, and going on and on and on. There's an intent that you are looking at a problem. You are starting with where you're at. However, you are looking into the past of how you got to where you're at. And writing about this, you're seeing the story unravel, okay? Just like you're watching a movie. Okay, so this is how it happened with my parents. So this is why my relationships are so screwed up right now, because, oh my goodness, I've had the same patterns, the very same patterns that my mother had with my father, that I really didn't. I wanted to have the exact opposite effect. I've somehow fallen into that trap. And you're writing this and seeing it, and then you think, okay, so after you put it all down and you release your frustrations with that story, then don't get stuck there. Then it's like, okay, so that's the story in my past. Am I living it right now? Well, most likely you visited it because you are living it right now. And then you'll address how are you living it right now? Well, I'm in this, the reason I'm still living this is because this person I'm with resembles my dad or my mom, and this is not what I wanted for myself. Then you go to the next step in the journaling, and it's like, what would you like to see happen instead then? How would you like your story to look like? So if you are in a relationship that you don't feel is making you happy, it's not always about leaving the relationship. Actually, it's kind of like, well, why was my mom and dad's relationship like that? What part did she play in that? What part did he play in that? How can I break that pattern by changing and transforming the relationship I'm in? Where often to me, it's amazing how many people nowadays, it's not like before, like when people, married out of different circumstances, but few people do that nowadays that I know of. Most people marry out of love. And yet it's those very same people that feel like, and for better or worse, and till death do us part, and all those commitments. How did we break those commitments within ourselves? And it's when in shamanism, we call this the dark side, when you visit your dark side to get to resolve something. And then you'll see things about yourself that you really have to admit that, hey, is that really, what role did I play in this? That my marriage or relationship is like this, whether with a partner or even with my children. You start seeing the roles you're playing in the process of trying to see how you want your story to change. And this becomes first, it's like going to a dark place, and it could be depressing in the beginning because you'll feel grief and sorrow and, guilt and blaming yourself for things. And all the emotions that you'll feel are so okay. I'll be journaling about things and then just tears dripping down my face because I see the role I played, I see the role others played. So it's not like you're just trying to, hammer away at yourself and take all the blame. No, but really trying to change perspective of the whole story. Like, what did you, why did you go through this, and what did you learn from it, and where do you want to go now? Okay, so when you're healed from that story, and you're not, I don't know that you're ever healed 100%, parts of it linger, but it doesn't hold you back from anything. It's just like you're aware that I experienced this for a reason, and I honor that. It becomes like, you are grateful to what you experience for whatever reason you were born to experience it. And the rest of the time you spend, this is the most fun part of the journaling, is when you start writing about what you want to see, where you want to see yourself go with your spouse or with your children or your partner or your parents or your career. If your parents had money issues, and that's just even your grandparents, it's been like a trickling effect, and it just kind of goes into and those are still a part of you to where you'll work your butt off and you can't make a good income. So if you can see the thread that created that and make a conscious decision that you are gonna transform that because you don't want the process to continue for yourself in this lifetime, nor for your children or grandchildren, or just even, and by the way, there's so much service in this whole process. I mean, that I'll say what it is at the end. I'm almost finished here. But this is the most fun process, is seeing the possibility of what you can become and not getting stuck and trapped in that previous story. And here's the like this is the sublime part of the whole thing. At the end, when you have transformed any part of you, even if it's like in the smallest way, then you have become, and you are now an inspiration, an example to others who are maybe experiencing something similar. And then they see that, you know, with what we would see when somebody loses weight, and it might take a couple of months and we'll recognize it. Maybe with the journaling, it'll take probably longer because you're doing a lot of inner work. But you see that people start seeing the transformation, and they're not going to come and say, oh my gosh, you've been transformed. That's like, wow, what happened? It's really even hard to describe, but they see something has changed. And then they might come to you and say, hey, like, how did you do this or that? And some people may never say that, even though they'll see it. But then you'll have people who are seeing that you're being successful in your relationship or in your career, and will use you as an example to get to that. And you can share this practice, especially after you see it working on you. You can share this practice with loved ones or whoever is interested. I found that I normally don't just like apply it. If I wait and see for people who are ready and are interested in it, and I'll bring it up in certain times, because it doesn't work if you don't believe in it. It doesn't work if you feel, oh, this is, you know. So I don't really waste my energy with that. But I do see people who do want to learn and they don't know which direction to take, and I'll offer that and say, hey, maybe you want to try this. Definitely the people that come to the workshops, definitely the people that call me. I mean, that's a given. But when I'm just in open spaces and we're just having regular conversations, social meetings and things like that, if I see somebody is interested, I'll offer it to them. So now you not only transformed yourself, but there's a possibility that you can touch somebody's life. And so this is the last benefit of journaling. Therapeutic benefit is that you will touch somebody's life, and that's the most magnificent thing at the end of the day. So thank you so much for your time, for watching this, and I will provide some ideas on how that would help you journal, and I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.